Good evening, UK Crime Book Club. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're just having some technical issues with Libby Patterson, so we will pop her into the stream as soon as possible. But for now, let's introduce Malcolm and Simon. Hi, guys.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, Sam.
So, Malcolm, do you want to tell us a little bit about your books before we start?
Thank you. Yes, I write a crime series set in Harrogate. There are now 9 books. They've been published through Bloodhound Books originally, up to book number 7. And then I received the rights back and republished them with new covers last year. And it was the hardest work I'd ever done, actually, to take books back and then learn how to self-publish. Previously, I had one book that standalone, which was called Bridging the Gulf, originally published as Engulfed. But again, I covered that to fall in with the same profile as the Harrogate series, just to give them some consistency. And I have a collection of short stories also on Kindle. So that's my writing career to date. Oh, I have written 2 more books for a new series set in Merseyside, but they're in a box waiting, and one has gone to publisher in the hope of being successful.
Well, good luck with that. We can't wait to hear more about them when you once you get published with them. Simon, can you show us yours, please?
Hi, yeah. So this is the first book in my series. It's a crime series, obviously set in Snowdonia. First book was in February of this year, and there are now 5 out. The 6th one comes out in 2 weeks, and then there'll be a 7th one in November. So I've rattled them out this year, but I'm sure I won't be able to do that next year. Yeah, as I explained before, it's about a DI from London who comes to resettle in Snowdonia for a quieter life. Very good crime thriller series. It's not the quieter life; it's just darker. So, that's about me. I've had a previous career writing TV and film scripts a while ago. So, but this is my first foray into writing novels this year.
So, Malcolm, talking of previous careers, what have you done leading up to becoming an author?
Previous career, I was a teacher. I went to teacher training college in Ripon. I was born in Bradford, lived there for 18 years, and then went off to Ripon, hence the connection with Harrogate. I knew Harrogate and the Yorkshire Dales really well. My grandparents were born, well, one of my grandparents was born in Ramsgill. So I've had that connection right the way through. I then took my first career posting was in Bingley, and then my future wife, moved to Wigan, and so I followed her and continued my career there. But within that time, I taught in Cairo, and then my wife worked in Corfu, and I used to travel out during the holidays. And then she got a position in Northern Cyprus, and we spent quite a number of years there. But I took 2 years leave of absence from work, so I could develop my art work that I used to thoroughly enjoy, and then came back to teaching, quite a few years ago, and eventually then ended early retirement, and hence the start of writing.
And Simon, what led you to a career as an author?
I
Sounds like a loaded question when you say that.
No, I started off working in TV and film development, in the 90s. So I was working with writers for quite a long time as a script editor. And then I decided to go to the other side and wrote scripts for The Bill, Silent Witness, and people and series like that. And then I had enough of that. So like Malcolm, I decided to go and be a teacher, which I did for about 10 years. And then last year I got the writing bug again, and started writing every lunch break and every free period, and started to think that maybe I could give it another go. So sort of come full circle again. So yeah, that's how I got there.
At the moment, we're just Caroline's helping with some technical difficulties with Libby, so hopefully she'll join us soon. So I want to start with what inspired you to write about the areas that you do write about. So obviously, I know that one of you lives there, one of you has lived there. Was that what inspired you to choose that area, or was there something else, Malcolm?
The beauty of it, really, you don't have to design a backdrop for the Yorkshire Dales, and the diversity within the area is just tremendous. So with Harrogate itself, absolutely stunning with the Stray. It also has quite a few hidden secrets going back to the Victorian period, so I managed to locate a number of areas that I wanted to write about. I knew Brimham Rocks, Ramsgill, Paisley Bridge, Richmond. It's just a wealth of scenes that you can bring in the location to it within your books. So it's really knowing the area well, but also it was easy to get to, so I could actually do my research quite quickly. And people know of Harrogate. If you mention Harrogate throughout the UK, people, oh yeah, they've either been because of the conference facilities within the town, or they've been to the Dales, and I think the Dales have been used on television quite extensively. So it seemed a no-brainer really to use Harrogate. And also, I read that Harrogate was the happiest place in the UK to live. So I thought, well, I'll introduce a little bit of crime. And now it's the 4th happiest place in the UK to live, so I'm winning.
So mission accomplished.
Well, we're getting there. Slowly
Be careful, or they'll not let you back in.
No,
Simon, how about yourself?
Um,
Your lead has followed a similar trajectory to you.
yes, yes, exactly. Well, also I followed I'm from South London, but I followed my wife to North Wales, where she's from, and I mean, Snowdonia is fantastic. It's that sort of place where it's incredibly dramatic, and we have all the kind of Arthurian legends that, you know, the King Arthur and the Lady of the Lake is meant to be in Snowdonia. The Holy Grail is meant to be possibly buried in Snowdonia. There's all sorts of legends, and then we have all the kind of the Welsh myths of dragons and stuff like that. So it's just really rich in terms of both its landscape, but also its history. It's a place that everyone knows, and sort of, you know, it's stunning. And I just also, as I was plotting my novel, I was kind of aware that a lot of places have been used by detective series, and sort of sitting here thinking, I don't think anything has ever been that I can remember, and I may be completely wrong, but I don't remember a TV series or a crime series being set in Snowdonia. So I just thought, well, that seems like a good idea then to put the two together.
I'm going to get a sneaky little plug in here for my friend who has a holiday cottage in Abergele called Pennybrim Farm, and it is the most beautiful place, and we go about 3 times a year. Absolutely love it there. So have a little look, Pennybrim Farm in Abergele.
I will do.
So there we go. Hi, Shell.
Not far.
Don't generally do plugs that aren't that, you know, they're not more subtle, my plugs, but yeah, I love it there. It's my other happy place. It's my second home, so it's lovely. Wow, we've got quite a few comments. One of them is just coming up as a Facebook user, and it says, looking forward to hearing from Simon McCleave. What seems like an overnight success was likely many years in the making. Did you have a lot pre-written and a launch schedule planned to maximise the impact? That's only part of the question. There's more, but I'm going to put that to all of you. But Simon first.
Yes. Sort of. I'd spent a lot of time, probably about 2 years ago, researching all the self-publishing stuff that's out there, whether it's sort of Mark Dawson and all those guys and the American guys, and just read everything I could about it. And it seemed to me that to sort of launch one novel and then wait for another 3 or 4 months to write another one seemed like kind of, it could be suicide. So yeah, I had 2 ready to go, with a 3rd one nearly finished at the beginning of this year. So I sort of had 3 nearly in the bag, so that I could kind of do a rapid release. and then put all my efforts into getting those 3 starting to work. So yes, yeah, it was premeditated, and it seems to have done okay, I guess. So yeah.
Before I ask you about your books, Malcolm, I'm just going to go to Libby. Hello, Libby.
Hello. Hopefully I can stay
Hello.
with
Do you want to give us a quick introduction to your books?
Hi, I'm Libby. I live on the island of South Uist in Scotland, and I've written a series of books based on the adventures of a young man called Matt Macaulay. First one's Hebridean Storm, then I've got the Uist Connection, and the third one is Up South, which is a local phrase around here that you say you make up south or down north. It's just the way it is. They're about somebody who's recovering from mental health issues, who needs to refine his self-esteem, and living in the wild Highlands, he finds it through community and friends and working with people. I listened to what you were saying there about environment, and the environment here, the wildness of the place, and the interaction of people who live here and those that come in. It is very important. So I try and wrap all that together in the book. My poor family hate me because wherever Matt Macaulay goes, I make them to the places that I can't get to. We go and we do it too. So you can actually trace him round. So we have found Bonnie Prince Charlie's cave. We have been working out how far it is from the stables to the post office and things like that to make sure it works. So, but that for me is part of the fun of it.
We were just asking about how whether Simon's work was pre-written. So Malcolm, how did you go about? Were you a book a year when you started the Harrogate series? Obviously, you
No.
started with Bridging the Gulf that I've got here. So what was your path?
I didn't know how to get the book self-published, and I was quite naive, really. And I went through a company called eBook Publishing, and they did all of that. But it was only available as an ebook. I then started to write the Harrogate Crime series, and I think I got to third, and I'd been sending off to a number of publishers, and I sent off to Bloodhound, as I mentioned. But before that, I'd asked a blogger to actually review the second book, which was Hell's Gate, and she kindly said she would. So when I received the notification from Bloodhound said he'd liked the book, I then got a second call about 2 days later to say they'd heard that I had 2 books also self-published, the first 2, and could they have those on contract. It turned out the blogger had been appointed a Bloodhound as well, so she'd read the second one, Bloodhound had read the third one, so they wanted the first 3. And then they released those 3, 2016 in November and December, the first 3 away. And I was away in Barbados at the time for those 3 pubs, so I was panicking because the time difference and having to be on social media. But it seemed to work very, very well. And the figures proved to be quite successful for them, so they asked me if I'd sign for a further 4 books, and that's how the series continued. Because I was so close to giving up, and I was in communication with Angie Marslands, and I said to her that I'm thinking of packing up, this is getting silly, and she said, no, just keep trying. And it was from that I then got the deal with Bloodhound. So it's Angie's fault, really.
Blame Angie.
Indeed. Always.
Libby, what was the path with your books? How long between each one?
I'm still my plan was to work part-time and write part-time, but I haven't quite succeeded with that. Still writing.
That means it's like, well,
full-time.
Okay.
So what I do is my next one should be out within the next couple of months, and they're available on Amazon, which are going to look really snazzy. So I'm really quite excited about the launch, and I think, as always, I think this is my best one. So I'm quite pleased about it.
David Blake said to me, I liked his fifth book was my favourite, and he said, well, that's as it should be. It should get better as they go along.
Yes,
So
I think so. I
yeah,
agree.
if you think that's your best one, then yeah,
Yes.
exactly. We've got so many questions on the stream. I will back to the other half of the. You've got about 17 questions in one paragraph, Simon. I'll have a glance at that and I'll come back to it. So Caroline Maston, hi Kaz, one of our admins, our co-founder, says, hi everyone. She's not read everybody's books, each book from everybody yet, but she wonders how do you use location in your books, because you all choose locations that you don't necessarily just stick to one place. There's the surrounding areas as well. So how do you go about that, Simon? Yours in particular are really different areas.
Yeah, no, I normally start with the story. So I sort of come up with a crime and the sort of type of crime that I want to write about. I normally have the ending in mind, and then I look around and kind of get my maps out or go for a drive and sort of see which location that's close to me or within Snowdonia seems to fit that. So we've had a valley and a river and a mountain, but it's whatever sort of. I start with the crime and then work out where that might be best take place. So yeah, that's how I work. That's how I work out my locations.
And Malcolm, how about yourself? Because you choose lots of places within a smaller area.
Yes, indeed. And again, it can come from a chance conversation. I was away once, and I was talking to a chap who turned out to be from Harrogate. He said, "Did you know there was a tunnel underneath Harrogate?" I hadn't a clue. It turned out to have been built for the railway in, I think, about 1870s, and it only was survived for 15 years as a railway tunnel. But the tunnel existed until, well, it's still there now, called the Brunswick Tunnel, and it became perfect for the setting of Book 2, Hell's Gate. And strangely enough,
it was terrifying as a setting.
It was, and you know what? I've been trying to get into that tunnel for a while, but there's only one portal, and that's closed off. And it was used as an air raid shelter in the Second World War. And the steps from the far end came out to a roundabout in the middle of Harrogate. But I thought it was perfect for that. And then there's the graveyard in Ramsgill, and I'd known a gravestone in Ramsgill since I was a child. I'm fascinated by the script on it, so that was the key for game point. So it's just a small thing that starts the idea, and once the idea is running, but unlike Simon, I don't know what the ending is going to be when I start. I just sit down and I start writing, and eventually it comes to me, and that's the direction I will take it in. A pantster, I think they're called.
Wow, and Libby.
I start with my crime.
Oh no, I thought you'd frozen. Sorry.
I'm here, hopefully. I start with my crime or my event, and then I think about where it would happen. So when all the fish are poisoned, when we've got the environmental thing in the Uist connection, I know where that is in the Sound of Barra and where the boats would go. And then if you were going to hide somewhere in Uist, where would you hide? And with friends and workmates and things, I talk about it. Say, okay, if you were going to do this, where would you go? And we discuss it, and it's quite fun. So we understand what the problem is or what needs to be sorted out or solved, and then how we would do it locally. And we're blessed with very diverse scenery and waterways and things here that use them.
Going to go on to the next question from Caroline again, Kaz. How much of your books are based on people you know or life experiences? I'm going to come to Malcolm first.
Not many, really. Certainly, you collect as you go along idiosyncrasies of the people you meet, and you try and include those. And I suppose since Cyril Bennett, there's quite a lot of me there, to be honest, and I think there has to be. And I think Julie's is definitely Debbie, and I think you use the close relationships to develop the close relationship within the story. But other people, no, not really. They just come and Owen, I don't know where Owen came from. In fact, I would disown Owen if I knew him really. But Scruffy, but no, not at all.
And Simon, how about yourself? How much is based on people you know and life experience?
Definitely, my central characters are. They're kind of they're fairly damaged and kind of sort of inner conflicts. I think all that kind of stuff is hard to write about unless you've been through some of that. So certainly the kind of the longer running characters are based on either people I know or quite a lot on myself, really. I think it's just, you kind of explore that when you're writing. And then other characters within the books are, yeah, sometimes I'll latch onto somebody that I know and kind of explore some of their kind of idiosyncrasies, and other times they're just the sort of amalgam of imagination, really. But certainly central characters very much based on my experience of life so far.
And Libby, how about you?
I'd agree. I'm very much the same. My central characters, I had a family member with mental health issues that were described in the book, and my son did actually rescue a girl who was beaten up in an alley too. And so I took that and took it further, and what would be the consequences, or what could have happened had they continued knowing each other, or if it wasn't just a straightforward mugging. I like phrases people use, or little quirks and little ways of reacting. So some of my characters, my policewoman, is a combination of people and how they do things. So I'll take phrases or responses, and so I like. But I think you've got to write about, or I've got to write about what I know and see, and then I just take it that one step further.
Yeah, Malcolm, do you do a lot of research ahead of your books? I'm going to ask everybody the same. And if so, have you found anything that surprised you?
Yeah, I do an awful lot of research, really. Certainly with Bridging the Gulf, that took an awful lot. And then working on the first book in the series, where we were talking about extracting materials from First World War shells to be used in the crime there, that also was quite fascinating. But I think it's the researching of places too, and the fine detail of places that I like very much indeed. Oh, and surprising, no, but the biggest surprise, and I think I've mentioned to you this before, Sam, is that when I was trying to write the first book, I was trying to work out to find information about Semtex, and I was a little bit reluctant to use the internet to try and find that. And I wanted to know how much Semtex you would need to cause a certain explosion. And a friend of mine over dinner said to me, why are you panicking? I said, well, I need to know exactly what you'd need to blow up this particular building. And he said, no, you don't. He said, all you need to do is write, you need just enough, because the man in the street isn't going to know anyway. So if you write generally, then it's work perfectly. And it was good advice at the very beginning of my writing career. So I've tended to use that whenever I've been uncertain.
Simon, how about you?
Yeah, huge amount of research. I sort of, when I started the series, I was quite keen to get the procedural stuff of the police as correct as I could, while maintaining, an ability to sort of tell a decent story. So there's a friend of mine that's a DS in Wrexham CID, so he's an invaluable contact. He looks at a lot of my stuff, or I'll ring him up and just say, is this possible? So normally I'll ask, could we get away with? So kind of pushing the boundaries of police procedure, but he does for me. I think it kind of allows it to be authentic. So I've tried, I try to, especially as when I'm researching the areas of Snowdonia, stuff will just pop up. I'll be reading about it, and there'll be something within a village or a tale or a myth, and that stuff is just fantastic to put in terms of the colour of it. I did it. My third book's about a serial killer, and I kind of wanted to steer it away from it's a kind of well-worn story, or well-worn trope of crime thrillers. So I did a hell of a lot of research on that, which was fairly grisly, but I kind of wanted the serial killer to be sort of founded in some sort of reality. So yeah, I mean, it's yeah, no, I think I try and go for as much authenticity as I can within each book, and then a bit of poetic license when I need to kind of push things a bit on. But yeah, I love that bit. I love that bit of writing, the research. I think it's really, really interesting.
Libby, how about you? Anything surprising turned up during research?
I definitely talked to the local police and to the Coast Guard and to the ferry guys to actually sort of say to them what would happen in this scenario, and we have chats about these things. I think my most, I don't know, the most profound was when I had an appointment actually to see the local inspector to actually go and talk about how the police would react to various things. And I went and see Colin, and that was fine. But he'd been called away. So in the station, it was the sergeant and the constable, who were two ladies. It was Liz and Mel, and they knew nothing about it. I said, "Oh well, never mind. Don't worry. It's just a shame because I brought cake." And they said, "Cake?" I said, "Well, to say thank you for your help." And they said, "Please come in." So a couple of hours later, my policeman was a policewoman with all the attitude, and it's more than just procedure. They were both young women who'd been brought up on the islands, so some of the locals just treated them as wee lassies, and their colleagues in Inverness just treated them as shifters who were out of the islands and didn't know nothing. But actually, they were highly professional, trained women who knew exactly what it was about. So that gave me a wonderful edge to Ross McCleave, my inspector, because she's got that attitude of a woman who needs to prove herself, and make sure that her island stays safe. So when you talk to people, you get the facts, and then people come with you. If we also get a bit of the personality or a bit of what they're trying to face and how they want to achieve things in their job. One of the phrases I use, I think it was in the first one as well, there was a line where they tried to call social work to look after a child, and the person on the end of the phone actually says, "Look, so-and-so's off sick, so-and-so's has been suspended, and so-and-so's on holiday. We haven't got anybody." Well, that's actually happened to somebody I know, and I put that in as a book, and that's the reason they were able to carry on. But you get these grits of these nuggets of real life, and if you can get that in, I think people identify with it.
Absolutely. Caroline Maston has asked one of her favourite questions, which is, would you produce a graphic novel of one of your books? Malcolm, let's start with you.
Yes, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Which one? Hell's Gate, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that would be the one that
would you are you artistic yourself, or would you have to hire somebody to do it?
I think you definitely have to hire somebody. I love painting and I love artwork, and but I think it certainly would be quite fascinating to see. And what would be rather nice is actually just give them the book and have them interpret it as they see it, really. That would be quite fascinating, rather than have an input into that and see how they interpret your words, and you see if they see the same pictures that you've tried to create within your writing. That would be fabulous, yeah. All in favour. Great believer in them.
Simon, how about you?
Sounds fun. I can't draw to save my life, as my children will testify. But yeah, I think my third book is the serial killer book is all about a sort of cat and mouse game between Ruth, the central character, and a serial killer. And it's all very much at night. It's sort of set in landscapes at night. So it's very, very noirish. I think that kind of lends itself to a graphic novel. But yeah, I think I would also tend to kind of hand the book over and see see what someone else would come up with. I think that would be really fun.
How about you, Libby? Graphic novels?
I think they're wonderful. We did for the US Connection, I think it was. My husband, who is arty, I'm not. He actually did a Wainwright-esque sketch of the islands and places that he went, and I thought that really helped and brought something to it. So I think pictures and the story told you and to put together
Oh no, I
a
think you've
image and a
frozen
theme
again,
between the
Libby.
covers. And so we're looking at how we use images in that. But the more you can use them to tell the story, the better.
Kaz is trying to get me into trouble. Caroline Maston, co-founder, admin. You were all stalked by Samantha Brownlee to be on this panel, and for Libby, this is the second experience of UK-CBC stalking. How do you feel about being hunted down by our admins and eye restraining order? I'm going to let answer that one. Welcome.
Is that my so? How do I feel about being stalked? Well, it's the first time, really. So, and I know
To be fair,
photograph,
Lucy started it with you.
You did it so subtly, I didn't know. So that was very, very good indeed. No, it's been a pleasure, and I'm quite grateful.
Very cunning.
That, yes, that you've read my books and you like them. That's lovely. But also to be invited to come along is also great, and it's lovely to meet fellow guests as well. And I often see their books and their book covers, but to put a face to the book as well is just delightful. So I'll get you back, is what the answer is.
It's really lovely.
Be prepared to be murdered in the next one.
Simon, how do you feel about us stalking you down for interviews?
Yeah, happy, flattering. The darker the better. Yeah, plenty of stalking going on. So I kind of head around stuff. But yeah, no, I know what it is. It's yeah, it feels lovely just to be asked and to hear other writers talk about how they work and their influences, where they live, all that kind of stuff is great, because it's quite, it's a very solid sort of job. You sort of sit and kind of make stuff up, which it seems a good job in itself. But then to hear other people who've done it, you don't feel like because as you might feel. So no, it's good. Happy with that.
So Libby, you were hunted down twice. Once by David Gilchrist when he started the group, and then again for this interview. Are you getting a restraining order against us anytime soon?
I feel really privileged. I'm disappointed by the tech issues, because I was really hoping to hear more of what the other guys were saying. What I did hear was really interesting. Last time I did this, I had to sit and type my responses. So this is better than on my fingers than what it was last time. And especially with the UK Crime Club group, you've got to be really careful with your spelling and grammar. So I was typing things and then going back and trying to correct myself and then typing them. Yeah, so this is less frantic, but I do think it's a privilege and an honour, and thank you.
We actually had I was sharing Malcolm's book that I received this week, Bridging the Gulf, on Twitter, and I wrote that I was smitted with his Harrogate series, and obviously Twitter doesn't have an edit function. I'm really glad that Facebook does, but Twitter doesn't. So I thought, I'm not going to delete the tweet, I'm just going to comment underneath. I think you took it quite good-naturedly for an English teacher, of all the people. So, do you read the reviews of your books? Simon, I'm going to come to you first. Do you read your reviews?
Well, I do remember I was away in Dublin in February when my first book came out, and I got my first ever review on Amazon. 1 star, absolutely trashed it. That was the first ever review I'd received as an author. So I just remember being in the lift in the hotel, kind of sobbing. No, not really.
Didn't you tell me that you were a teacher formerly? Could this be a former pupil?
It could have been, yeah. Or probably more likely a former colleague. But anyway, so So the first, okay. So a good piece of advice was don't, I could read, I know that if I read, I've stopped doing it now, but I know I could read 100 good reviews and I could read 2 bad reviews, and the 2 would stick with me for hours and hours and hours, and the 100 reviews would make no difference to me. So it seems to me the best thing is to avoid them. So I haven't read, I think I started by reading them for the first 2 books and realized that was really good advice. And so for the next 3 books, I've not read any bad reviews at all. I can't really see the point. I think actually sometimes it's quite nice. I think because in our profession you can lose a lot of confidence. I often just have a look at some of the good reviews to kind of give myself a bit of a spur on sometimes when I kind of full of self-doubt. So actually, but so that's how I use reviews. But no, certainly don't read the bad reviews anymore.
Good. Libby, how about you? Do you read the reviews?
No, I stopped basically for exactly the same reason. With my books, I have this loathing when I read series or when books become formulaic. So I have tried in my writing to try different styles, well, not styles, different approaches. And it's quite interesting that when I was reading reviews, some people would love one but hate the other, and vice versa. And I thought, well, actually, who am I writing this for? I'm just experimenting on how best to express myself. So I then got a couple of really sort of like, oh, that wasn't very nice reviews, and just thought, blow it, I'm going to stop reading it because I like writing and I've got stories to tell, and I'll just get on with it, just into it.
How about you, Malcolm? Do you read your reviews?
Yes, I do. I think I've always read my reviews, and I take what Simon says, that you read 100 good ones and read 1 bad one, and the bad one will stay with you for quite some time. But again, being a teacher, I read a review recently, which was, I think, again, a 1-star that said you could tell that I was a teacher because I was always trying to teach. And I sometimes wondered whether that was either a student I once had. Everything was spelled correctly, so but I think you can learn things from reviews. I really do, and I think as Simon has also said, that it is a lonely business, writing, and we sometimes do need a little bit of a boost, and to get a couple of good reviews, particularly when you're having a dip within your writing, or when you're stuck at a T-junction and you don't know which way to turn or whether to actually stop writing, and you pick up a couple of good reviews, it really does give you that fillip to carry on. I think some of the reviews on Amazon are dreadfully cruel. And I think some of those that sign, sorry, I'm giving it a 1-star because I couldn't download it to my Kindle, really does get me angry.
Well, they should be removed, shouldn't they?
But you can't get them reviewed.
Yeah. Libby.
I was just going to say,
Libby.
I'm a wee bit cynical because somebody who I know, and I mentioned only names, an acquaintance, actually was boasting about the fact that they get paid to write for reviews for Amazon. And I sort of said, do you read those books? And they said, oh, some of them. I'd be as honest as I can. And I just thought, oh, that's not good. I once had a review from somebody who told me they lived on the Isle of Arran. So nothing happened on islands. They were very boring. So how could my books have any truth in them? So I just get a bit cynical about these things.
Yeah, I can understand that. Going on to characters, do you have a favourite relationship that you've created, or is there one that the readers have particularly warmed to? Let's go to Malcolm first.
Within the Harrogate series, certainly Bennett and Owen take the lead. Although when I did kill off one of the detectives, I did get quite a few comments. But I was going to kill Owen off, and I talked it over with my wife, and she said,
"Oh, I might not have invited one if you had done."
Yeah, well, he said, you do realise if you kill Owen, you kill the series. And I sat and thought, well, she's right. So I thought, well, I have to kill somebody else, because I got to the stage where I just needed to do that. And so I decided I would kill one of the characters, and that was in Game Point, of course. So your original question was what? Sorry, remind me of the question again, Sam, please.
Do you have a favourite character relationship that you've written, or is the one that with the readers that they particularly enjoy?
Many do actually like Owen, and he is a great one. I love writing his character. I like his sense of humour, and I like trying to shock in a way, with the only way Owen can shock. But I also like creating new characters within stories, and I hope that they will be picked up by readers and enjoyed. And in the new series, I have a lady called Warlock, a detective called Warlock, and coming from Liverpool. She's actually a Wigan girl, but coming from Liverpool, of course, everybody knows Derek Warlock. So she gets quite a few comments about that, but she's could be no further or closer to Derek as I. She's quite a character. So, yeah, I think, and I think
Simon,
I think
how
that,
about you?
that allows the.
Oh, sorry, Malcolm, carry on.
I was just saying that allows the series to develop, and I think people enjoy series because of the way the characters develop as the books go on.
Yeah,
no, exactly what Malcolm
absolutely.
said.
Yeah, Simon.
I think what Malcolm was saying is spot on. I think sort of emails and reviews talk about the central relationship between it's Ruth Hunter and DS Nick Evans, and they are like chalk and cheese. They are like the odd couple. So she's a tough South Londoner. She's gay. She's been in the Met. She's kind of seen everything, and he is slightly younger, fiercely proud Welshman who, at the beginning of the series of books, is very anti-English. Doesn't really like to talk about his emotions, and is very proud of where he lives. And they're kind of forced together. And in the first book, it's like fireworks. And yet I'm now writing book 7, and they are their best friends. They talk about everything, and that's just developed over. And I love it. They spark off each other. They kind of tell each other everything, and they know they instinctively know what each other are thinking within a certain situation. And there's a lot of kind of taking their mick, and but when things do get real, they're really supportive, and it's a kind of really unlikely friendship, which wouldn't have happened outside of the job. But they're stuck in a car during the day, driving around Snowdonia, and yeah, it's what people pick up on. And I mean, now in my head, they're real people, so it sort of writes itself in some ways, which is a strange thing to say, but other writers will know what I mean. Their scenes write themselves. But yeah, no, I love writing for them.
How about yourself, Libby? Do you have favourites or favourites that the readers have picked up on?
Absolutely. I get teased because I'm told Matt Macaulay, my children think Matt Macaulay is my son. He's not, but that's another story. My favourite characters, I suppose, is Sketch, who is Matt's uncle. And Sketch in real life and in the book runs Macaulay's taxis. And he's a brilliant character to have because he can be anywhere. You can actually get him into scenes quite easily, or he can help provide a solution because he's that mobile. So he works well. I did say to Sketch, look, are you okay with me using my books, using you in my books, I should say? And he gave me a big cheesy grin, which is him. And he said, there's only one condition, Libby. I said, okay, Sketch, what's that? And he leaned back, he went, I. When you sell the film rights, it's got to be Robbie Coltrane that plays me. So how on earth I'm going to do that, I don't know yet. But I said I'll try and do my best. I like him because he's got a personality that exudes the local community, a spirit, and he's the one that will go the extra mile to find the body, or to find a burnt out car, or kill the one that inadvertently shoots an air gun. And actually, just solve things. I like Florence McCleave because of the feminist attitude, and of course, I like Matt because he's my other son.
One of my favourite questions to ask during author chats is your most memorable moments as an author so far. So let's go to Malcolm first.
A few, really.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, you have really. I think it ties in with one of the questions down the side here, a funny moment. And in the first book, I wrote the guy goes to Salford Quays and the Lowry Centre, and there's the Media City in the far side. And the character says that I wrote the lights at Media City seem pretentious. And I got an email saying that he was really enjoying Only the Dead until he read that line, because he designed them. Now, if you can imagine, of all the people in all the world who had to read that book, the guy who designed the lights at Media City. So I didn't know what to do. You know, I thought, do I send him a complimentary copy of the next book, or do I apologise, or do I? And I just thought, no, it's fiction. So I thought, I'll not do anything. I'll just leave it. But I couldn't believe it. So be careful what you write, or be careful what you criticise. So I always think when I write something, put the person who's are they possibly dead. But so yeah, it made me chuckle though. Now it didn't at the time. I was quite worried.
Simon, how about you? Most memorable or funniest moments as an author so far?
Memorable, definitely. Well, being self-published, it's sort of every little step kind of becomes like you sort of dance around the first cover. You get the first cover through and you think, oh my God, I've got a cover for my first book. And then you sort of see it formatted, and then that's like, so all those little stages, and then you get your first review. Well, not my first review, but you get some reviews that are okay, or you see your book doing okay in Amazon, and you see like for the first time you kind of get sort of a ranking, and you just, all that stuff has all been memorable all the way along those little steps. And obviously I'm 7 months in, so it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, but it's been fun so far. I just love that the emails are the best bit. I seem to attract an audience of very well. There's a small there are some eccentric old ladies that kind of live around here who are constantly in touch about kind of finer detail of my books, and pointing that you can't see something from somewhere, and that road doesn't actually go that way, it goes right. You can't see the ferries from Harlech if you stand just there, and all that stuff. It makes me laugh because I kind of, how do you know all that stuff? But yeah, no, it's good fun. It's all good fun.
Seems like the local book club are going rambling and checking out your details. Libby, how about you? Memorable moments?
I've had a couple of people contact me about points of detail, but Brian, my husband, has just brought through a letter, and it's an envelope that I actually framed. You can't read it, so I'll read it for you. But it actually said, Libby Patterson, famous author, South Uist, Outer Hebrides, Scotland. And it got here. And it was from Wales, actually. But that was like, oh my goodness. And you suddenly realise that people are reading them and enjoying them. And it's, I have an audience. And you're really grateful. I'm really grateful. I'm really pleased that people are enjoying what I enjoy.
That's really great. That's hilarious, because Caroline Maston sent me some books, and I've got, it's stuck. This is what the wrapper, I've not been able to deal with Royal Mail yet, but they sellotaped it and there were books missing. So I've kept that because I'm not impressed, but I realise it's not time. But I will be going checking their bucket for you. Exactly, that got there, and then my really well packaged books did not. So I'll be nice when I go, but I do want to see if they're in the lost and found bin. So do you have authors that you looked up to as you were growing, learning? I mean, as teachers, there must have been books that you taught that you enjoyed. So let's go to Malcolm. Anything that inspired you?
No, I've never been a reader really. I know that shocks
Which
quite a few
surprised me. We had a chat and I was really
people.
surprised by that.
In fact, funnily, I organise a noir event, two of noir events every year, one in Wigan and one in Harrogate, and we had Rob Ashman, and we're both sitting on the panel, and somebody asked favourite author, and so Rob Ashman said, I don't read books, I couldn't tell you. And then I was next, so I thought, I'm going to have to say the same thing here. So out of a panel of four, two authors who really didn't read. Robert Ryan, I suppose, was the one that I enjoyed most, and Ranulph Fiennes, some of his novels. But I read most things, but I just don't pick up novels, and I certainly don't read crime novels. So anything that's so why I write crime, I really don't know. To be honest, I really don't know. I just enjoy it. So no, I've never been a reader. Never been a reader.
How about you, Simon?
Yeah, a little bit the same. I'm certainly not these days obsessive in terms, or even recently obsessive about reading crime books. I do read them. I mean, I sort of started off by I think I kind of, when I work out why I'm interested in crime, I think it's Enid Blyton's fault for writing the famous 5 and Secret 7, which I ploughed through, and they were the kind of mysteries. And sort of Alistair MacLean and Ian Fleming novels when I was a teenager, all that kind of stuff. And then more recently, kind of James Ellroy, kind of like that kind of dark American stuff. But I think I'm kind of far more influenced by. I think you know, as a writer, you're a storyteller, and you know, I get a lot of my stories from TV and film, and I'm obsessed. I watch obsessively crime TV and film, and so although I do read crime novels, I hoover up, and I have done for decades, kind of crime films and crime TV. So I guess that's also a huge influence on what I write.
How about yourself, Libby?
I sort of read a lot of Agatha Christie. I have done over the years. Over the last couple of years, I've had to do a lot of travelling up and down for family commitments. And my daughter bought me an audiobook subscription. I listened to the whole E.L. James things on that. So I really enjoyed that. I think inspiration-wise, in 2012, we moved up here for my work. In 2012, I got made redundant, and I was very pleased about that, oddly. And the first thing I did was did a crime writers course with Cara Ramsey, and she was a great inspiration to me, not just her reading, because some of it's a bit too dark and gory for me, although I think it's very good, but also in telling me about how to develop plots and characters and discussing ways and methodologies. So she was really a great support to me as well. So I've got to give her a thank you for putting me on the right track.
So, Malcolm, what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out? Maybe just got a few notes on the first book, but is not really sure what the next step is.
Well, somebody once said to me, sit down and write, otherwise you'll never write anything, and create time within the day to you can find as many excuses as you like. I'll do it in a bit, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it. And you never do. And so you have to have a bit of discipline and sit down. And something I'm working on at the moment, I think looking at little book writing competitions and getting short stories into competitions is a wonderful way to get the writing not only acknowledged, but you actually get feedback as well. So either flash fiction or 500,000 word short stories is great for somebody to have a go at. But if you really do, Sam, want to write, Sam, because I think we talked about it, didn't we? Sam? You really want to write a novel, Sam, you need to sit down and you need to write it.
Take a year off that isn't in a pandemic?
You don't need a year off. You don't need a year off. You don't need a year off. You just need to be consistently sitting down and say, I'm going to write 500 words every day, no matter what. And there might be 500 words of pure rubbish, but then when you come and sit down the next day to read through that before you start the next day writing, you'll know that. And so you discard those and carry on from the previous day. And eventually, it's amazing how it adds up. As they always said about eating an elephant, a little bit at a time, not all at once.
How about you, Simon? Advice for one of these?
Yeah. No, what Malcolm just said is spot on. It's get on and write it. And that, yeah, then chunk it as well. So, you know, if you are just concentrating on getting up in the morning and writing 500 words or 1,000 words or 100 words, just do that, and then don't kind of project and think, how am I ever going to write, you know, a 70,000 word novel? Just go, all I need to do is just do this every day, and just keep writing, and write what you want to write about. Try and write, I suppose, a little bit about what you know about, but I mean, obviously there are many authors that don't, but yeah, write what interests you, because I think if you write what interests you, then it's something you feel passionate about, it will come across on the page. But yeah, I think just get on and do it, because I think there's a lot of people who say, I'd love to write a novel, but no, this is not, no offense to you, but I think you just have to.
I know.
I feel really bad now.
I need to eat an elephant. Okay. No, my husband would say exactly the same, but luckily he doesn't watch my interviews, so it's fine.
A little bit every day.
Libby, how about yourself? Advice for newbies? He listens to me talk enough. I don't blame him.
I would say two things. One thing that was taught to me or was suggested to me early on, which I find quite helpful, especially if I've had a hard day or things haven't gone right and I've got to switch off life and get back into the novel, is just to type whatever you're seeing or whatever you're thinking, so that you get your brain and your fingers doing coordination, or writing if you're writing, so that sorry, that's Pip in the background. So that you can actually get a flow of thought. The other thing that I do, and that Caro Ramsey taught me or suggested to me, was I draw it. I've got quite a pictorial mind, so I get a bit of, well, I'll turn the camera around, but I'll be scared I'd lose you, so I'm not going to do that. But a bit of wallpaper horizontally, the wrong way round on the wall, and I draw the progress, what happens on Monday, Tuesday, and so I pictorially draw lines and understand the connections and the plot that have got to be made. So before I actually start writing, well, I phrase it, I tell people that I'm doing the spine first, and I get my plot and my links and my everything, and then I go back and I colour it in afterwards. So to me, working out why somebody did that, what's going to happen then, who needs to have that conversation when, is my jigsaw puzzle. And then I go back and colour it in. And actually drawing it on wallpaper helps me, because I have my characters to the side, I have who's upset by what's got to happen by Tuesday. So I actually do it like that. So I'm quite visual in that way of thinking, that I've got to have a plot and I've got to have my plan. So then I can embellish upon that. So draw on your
I don't believe this, but our hour is up.
Oh.
So can we get a final reminder of everybody's books? Let's start with you, Malcolm.
Well, the Harrogate Crime Series, books 1 to 9, and I'll give you a quick look at this one, which I'm really quite proud of, which is Bridging the Gulf, set in Northern Cyprus and in good old Bradford. Yeah, bit of a sleeper.
Simon.
Snowdonia Killings, the Snowdonia Murder Mysteries, books 1 to 5 on Amazon at the moment, and 6 coming out on the 14th of September. Book 6.
And Libby, how about you?
And this is me.
Oh, hi, Pip.
He was actually sitting on it, so I had to lift him up to get him off it. But this is Hebridean Storm, which was the first book in the series and introduces Matt Macaulay and his family. There you go.
Thank you all so much for joining me. I've had a fantastic hour. It's absolutely flown. Thank you. I hope we can get you all back for individual interviews soon, Caroline says. So we'll be in touch about new releases upcoming in the new year.
Nice to meet
Thank
you,
you all.
Nice to meet you, Libby.
Okay, nice to meet you too.
Thanks, Sam. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.